Some fragrances politely introduce themselves. They tap you on the shoulder, smile, and wait to be noticed. Le Male Elixir does not do that. Le Male Elixir walks into the room, and the room notices. The second this hit my skin, I genuinely put down whatever I was doing and just sat with it. There is something almost confrontational about it, in the best possible sense. It demands your attention, and then, somehow, it earns it. Now here is the thing I want you to stay for. Because by the end of this review, I am going to tell you something about the dry down on this fragrance that I did not expect. Something that genuinely changed my opinion of it, and not in the direction I was anticipating. So stick around for that. Let us get into it. Jean-Paul Gaultier. If you know fashion, you know this name. The enfant terrible of French couture. The man who put a corset on a man and called it evening wear. The designer who has spent his entire career playing with gender, with convention, with the idea that rules in fashion and in fragrance are there to be interrogated, not obeyed. The original Le Male launched in 1995 and it became one of the best-selling masculine fragrances in history. That iconic torso bottle, that lavender and vanilla combination, it was polarizing, it was bold, and it worked. Since then, the Le Male family has grown. There have been flankers, limited editions, concentrations. Some have been brilliant. Some have been lazy cash grabs. But Le Male Elixir sits in a different category entirely. This is not a flanker made to shift units. This is Jean-Paul Gaultier going back to the source and asking, what if we made it richer? What if we made it deeper? What if we stripped away the freshness and doubled down on the darkness? The result is something that feels less like a flanker and more like the fragrance the original was always trying to become. Right. The bottle. Let us talk about this because it is genuinely one of the most iconic vessels in fragrance, and the Elixir version does not disappoint. You have got that famous male torso, sculpted, muscular, immediately recognizable. But where the original gives you that sailor suit blue stripe with a clean aesthetic, the Elixir version goes dark. Deep, almost obsidian black with gold accents. It looks expensive. It looks intentional. It looks like something you display, not something you hide in a drawer. The 200 ml size is substantial. This is a statement piece on any fragrance shelf. The weight of it in your hand feels premium, there is nothing hollow or plasticky about the construction. The cap sits firmly. The spray mechanism delivers a fine, controlled mist, not one of those cheap pumps that spits at you unpredictably. Every detail communicates that you are holding something of quality. And honestly? The bottle matches the scent perfectly. Both are dramatic. Both are self-assured. Both have a sense of theater about them. If you buy fragrance partly for the ritual, and many of us do, this bottle rewards that. It sits on your shelf and it looks back at you like it knows something you do not. Okay. First spray. This is the moment of truth with any fragrance, and with Le Male Elixir it is a moment that does not waste your time. The opening is bold. Almost aggressive in the best possible way. There is a warmth that hits you immediately. This is not a fresh, citrusy opener. There is no polite bergamot handshake here. Instead, you get this deep, spiced richness that blooms outward immediately. It projects confidently from the first second. We are talking proper Sillage right from the off. If you spray this in a room, people in that room will know. There is a sweetness in the opening, but it is not cloying. It is controlled. Think of it less like dessert and more like a really well-aged spirit, complex, warm, slightly intoxicating. The Eau de Parfum concentration means this is not messing around. It announces itself fully within the first 30 seconds and it does not apologize for doing so. Does it live up to expectations? Yes. Emphatically yes. The opening alone justifies your interest. It is the olfactory equivalent of a firm handshake from someone who is genuinely confident, not trying to be confident, actually confident. There is a difference, and you feel it here. As the fragrance settles into that first 30 to 60-minute window, something interesting happens. The initial boldness does not disappear, it evolves. The spice becomes more integrated. What was sharp and declarative in the opening starts to round out, becomes more enveloping. You move from projection into presence. This is where Le Male Elixir really starts to show its craftsmanship. Lesser fragrances peak on the opening and then spend the next 6 hours slowly dying. This one does something more interesting, it unfolds. Layer by layer. There is a sweetness in the heart that feels genuinely sophisticated. There is also a warmth that borders on sensual. Not in a cheap, obvious way. In a way that makes you very aware of your own skin temperature. What surprised me most in the heart phase was the balance. Given how bold the opening is, you might expect the heart to be similarly domineering. But it is not. It has a quality of intimacy to it. You move from a fragrance that fills the room to a fragrance that draws people closer. That transition is not accidental. That is skill. That is a perfumer who understood the arc they were building. By the 90-minute mark, Le Male Elixir is wearing like a second skin. It is deeply personal, deeply warm, and richly complex. This is the kind of fragrance you keep catching on yourself and smiling. You know those ones? This is one of those. Right. Here is the bit I told you to stay for. Because the dry down on Le Male Elixir did something I did not fully anticipate, and I think it is the most important part of this review. By the 3 to 4 hour mark, something shifts. The sweetness that characterized the heart phase retreats slightly, and what emerges from underneath is this extraordinary warm, almost resinous base. It is deep. It is intimate. It has a quality that I can only describe as skin-like. It smells like very clean, very warm skin, amplified and enriched with something almost precious underneath it. Now here is what I did not expect. I went into this fragrance thinking the opening would be the star. I thought the dry down would be the predictable sweet vanilla base that a lot of gourmand-adjacent fragrances retreat to. And instead, the dry down is actually the most sophisticated phase of the entire wear. It is quieter than the opening, yes. But quieter in the way a really compelling person goes quiet, not because they have nothing to say, but because what they are saying now deserves more attention. I genuinely changed my opinion of this fragrance during the dry down. I went from impressed to genuinely moved. That does not happen often. And that is worth noting. Let us get into the specifics. Because longevity and sillage are where a fragrance either justifies its price or exposes itself. Le Male Elixir, in this Eau de Parfum concentration, is a serious performer. On skin, and I am talking about testing this properly, not a quick spray and a sniff, you are looking at 8 to 12 hours of wear. That is not marketing copy. That is real-world, on-skin performance. The opening hour gives you strong projection. The middle hours give you what I would call social sillage, noticeable to anyone who comes within a couple of meters of you. The final hours are more intimate, a skin scent with real warmth and depth that lingers. On clothing, you will extend that performance significantly. Spray this on a jumper and you will still be catching it 2 days later. This is a fragrance that commits. In terms of when it peaks, and this matters, I think Le Male Elixir peaks in the evening. It is a night fragrance. Not exclusively, but predominantly. The warmth of it, the richness, the depth, it all makes more sense after 6 o'clock. Wear it on a cold autumn evening and it is extraordinary. In peak summer heat? It can feel like too much. Context, as always, is everything. Let me paint you a picture. Actually, let me paint you 3. If you are the type who dresses intentionally, who knows the difference between an outfit and an ensemble, who chooses music the way other people choose moods, who gravitates toward leather-bound notebooks and aged whiskey, this fragrance was made for you. It rewards people who pay attention to detail. If you are someone who finds most mainstream fragrances a little too safe, a little too agreeable, a little too designed by committee, if you have been searching for something with genuine personality and genuine depth, Le Male Elixir scratches that itch without requiring you to disappear into niche fragrance entirely. And if you are someone who already owns and loves the original Le Male, or Le Male Le Parfum, and you are ready for the darker, richer, more complex version of that love affair, this is exactly where that journey ends up. Now, Who should not wear this? People who prefer their fragrances light and airy. If your signature scent is something aquatic or citrus forward, this will feel like wearing a velvet suit when you wanted linen. Also, and I say this with genuine affection, if you are new to fragrance and building your first collection, this is not your entry point. Start somewhere more accessible. Come back to this when you know what you are doing. Because Le Male Elixir rewards experience. It rewards someone who knows what they are smelling and can fully appreciate it. Let us talk money. £153 for 200 millilitres. Do the maths and you are looking at 76.5 pence per milliliter. Now, in the context of niche fragrance, that is actually very reasonable. In the context of designer fragrance broadly, it sits at the premium end, but not unreasonably so. Here is the honest question though, are you paying for the liquid or the name? And with Le Male Elixir, I think the answer is genuinely both, and that is not always the case with big designer houses. The quality of the juice is real. The performance is real. The longevity is real. You are not just paying for that iconic bottle and that Gaultier label. You are paying for a fragrance that has been carefully constructed and delivers on its promise. If you want something that scratches a similar itch at a lower price point, Unisex Ode for Greatness shares some of that deep, rich, spiced warmth, though it takes you in a slightly different direction. Worth exploring if the budget is a concern. But honestly? For what Le Male Elixir delivers across a full day of wear, at 76.5 pence per ml, in a 200 milliliters bottle that will last you a long time if you wear it appropriately, the value is there. This is available at P11, the link is in the description below, and I would say if you are serious about fragrance, it is worth every penny. My score, 8.5 out of 10. Why not higher? Because the opening, while stunning, is not for everyone, and the price is still a commitment that deserves honest acknowledgement. Why that high? Because the dry down is one of the most beautiful I have experienced in mainstream fragrance this year. That dry down alone earns this fragrance its reputation. Jean-Paul Gaultier Le Male Elixir is the rare fragrance that gets better the longer you commit to it. It rewards patience, it rewards attention, and it rewards the kind of person who understands that the best things take time to reveal themselves. If you buy one bottle this year and you want something genuinely substantial, something with real soul and real staying power, this deserves serious consideration. Now, I want to hear from you specifically on this one. If you own Le Male Elixir, I want to know, was it the dry down that sold you, or were you won over immediately on the opening spray? Because I think that split says a lot about how people experience this fragrance, and I am genuinely curious where you land. Drop it in the comments below. If honest, no-nonsense fragrance reviews are what you are after. Subscribe, I post every week and I never review anything I would not spend my own money on. See you in the next one.